What the IMF does takes resolve, patience, resilience. It always has.
At Bretton Woods, New Hampshire, delegates from 44 allied and associate countries arrived for the opening.
Back then, the question was, how can the IMF bring prosperity to a divided world? Their answer? Hope.
Ours is a mission of peace, not just lip service to the ideals of peace.
For 80 years, the International Monetary Fund has been building on that promise. It hasn't always been easy.
In London, Paris, and Washington, grave concern.
When an international crisis disrupted global trade, the fund stepped up and, for the first time, provided major lending. As new nations emerged from old empires.
Citizens of the new state of Ghana gather for the celebration marking their Day of Freedom from colonialism.
The IMF launched its African department, a place to be part of the conversation. In 1969, the fund crafted the special drawing rights, a new reserve for member countries, just ahead of a series of shocks called the 1970s.
The time has come for a new economic policy for the United States.
When President Nixon abandoned the gold standard, the global economy lost the common point of reference, and critics called the IMF obsolete.
We will press for the necessary reforms to set up an urgently needed new international monetary system.
And so the fund adapted. Countries would need advice and expertise, an organization ready to protect the global economy. And when the price of oil spiked, causing pain for people almost everywhere, the IMF was ready with lending and new forms of support. The 1980s were difficult years. Latin America still calls it the lost decade. But from behind the crumbling wall, new markets emerged from what has been communist Europe. IMF membership swelled well into the 1990s. And the fund saw them through their transformation. When Asia was beset by a downturn more severe than any in recent memory, the IMF was there to give governments and markets the means to pull through. From this, the IMF forged new tools to test resiliency. In 2008, crisis came in ways few expected. Institutions once thought invulnerable collapsed overnight. But the IMF was there for the day after.
The meetings of the IMFC this year are being held in a climate of severe stress of the financial system.
With nearly $1 trillion to get the nations of the world back on their feet. And in the aftershocks, the fund stood firm to keep Europe's economy standing.
The global financial system has undergone a period of unprecedented turmoil, and the situation remains fragile.
The IMF learned lessons that would help the global economy when COVID brought the world to a halt, providing advice, vision, and $1 trillion in liquidity and reserves as a bridge to recovery.
The IMF stands ready to help countries meet the challenges of the pandemic and their financing needs, including through a resilience and sustainability trust.
In a fast-changing world, the IMF is there, helping economies grow so that everyone can prosper with determination, expertise, the vision to look beyond calamity, and the grit to see things through. The IMF is a lot of things, but above all, it is a helping hand in good times and in bad. So, the question from all those years ago, how can the IMF bring prosperity to a divided world? That's simple. When our members need us, we are there every time for everyone.